Welcome to another episode of Kicking Tables. Today we are delighted to welcome Austin Harrison, the creator and project lead of Veiled Fate, coming very soon to Kickstarter. Welcome,
Hello.
Harrison, or Austin.
Thank you.
I said your last name,
No,
sorry.
it's totally fine. That's actually what people called me in high school, so
Harrison,
I
yeah.
didn't even blink at it. Yep. I actually was Harry, but I mean it's close enough. So,
Wow. Well,
But
welcome, Harry.
my wife's gonna be like, "What the heck was that?" Really nice to meet you guys. Excited to talk to you. Thanks for
Thank
having me on
you.
the show.
Well, thanks for
Thank you
joining
very
us.
much. Yeah.
Let's talk about Veiled Fate. Can you tell us quickly what Veiled Fate is and kind of give us a rundown of how it plays
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, I would love to. So, Veiled Fate is a game coming to Kickstarter today, I think, is if this is launching on
Yes.
October 15th.
That's right.
It is a game of hidden influence, and we kind of have made up some mechanic names because we couldn't find one that we just loved.
Okay.
But the biggest mechanic is strategic deduction, and it kind of has elements of social deduction games where you're trying to figure out who everyone is, but then the gameplay is strategic versus just lying and trying to mislead people. And so basically, there are 9 demigods, and the players are playing as gods that are trying to help their demigod ascend to the throne. So they do that by sending demigods on quests and then voting for the quest to result on one way or another way. And usually it's positive on one side and negative on the other side.
Okay.
So when I place a demi, and I can move any demi, not just my own, onto a quest and place a vote, you don't know whether I'm trying to hurt that demi, help that demi, or if I even care about that demigod at all.
Right.
And so it's a lot of kind of around the table misdirection, trying to get that last point at the very last turn when you need it and not give away who you are until it's right there at the end. But yeah,
That
that's a little bit about
sounds,
the game.
yeah. So, oh, well, and the social deduction trying to get, because you don't know what demigod your opponents have chosen, right? And you each have
Yes,
your own.
I
It's
quite often have given yeah. I quite often have given my enemy the lead by pretending to be their demigod, thinking that I was being really sneaky, and in reality, I literally gave them tons of points.
oh no.
It happens all the time, but
So I would love to know what the origin of,
Yeah.
of this game was. Number one, the game. Number two, of the artwork itself, because the art is
Yeah.
absolutely stunning for this game. So I wonder where that came from, how you guys came up with that style, and again, where you guys came up with the idea for this game.
Yeah, totally. So one of the other co-creators, Zach Dixon, and I were driving back from Dice Tower for actually our first game, Moonrakers, and we were talking about game ideas for the next game. And the thing that really came to the forefront as something we wanted to try was a game that involved hiding in plain sight. We had
Yeah.
played a game literally called Hidden in Plain Sight. It was a video game. Don't know if you ever played it, but just had this wonderful element of there being a crowd of people on the screen, and you have to mislead people as to who you are in order to complete an objective. And so we were like, that feeling was just so wonderful. Can we make that in a board game? And the first version, we were like, this is absolute trash. Was just not effective. Like, it was obvious who you were. It wasn't very fun, but that's kind of how all games start.
Sure.
And it just took a lot of growth over that time. But it actually started off kind of as like an evil mastermind creating your own minion game. And you had to like hide which minion was yours. And then it was like way too minions, as in like Despicable Me. And then
Right.
like, we're going to get sued. And we couldn't quite get the story element to get all the way there. And so Max Anderson, one of the other designers, and Samuel Cowden, the last designer, we were all kind of talking about it and eventually kind of settled on what if it was mythology themed and we had these demigods that were able to be controlled by or influenced by gods that are the players. And that would kind of hit our problems with the story, because before, if it was a minion that I was controlling, why can all the other players control my minion?
Yeah.
And so with a demigod, though, it's like, oh, they're being influenced and someone's whispering in their ear, go do this, go do that. And they don't know
Right.
which god it is. And so it was a little bit more misdirection, a little bit more mysterious. And that's why we ended up going with that. And then to answer your second question, Sean, Tycho, I'm sorry. I
Sorry.
literally called it the wrong name. That was a great collaboration between Harry Conway and All Right Studio, and then our studio. We work at an animation studio. That's what IV is. That just has a passion
Okay.
for board games. And so it was an art direction that we developed with all three of those parties. Harry really takes the lion's share for the character artwork and the board. He did an incredible job of bringing those characters to life. we didn't want it to be based on just one mythology, so we kind of picked and chose a lot of different lores and mythologies and came up with the characters, the 9 very distinctive characters. So he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I think he's just Harry Conway illustration. Harry Conway on Instagram. Just look him up. It's really, really incredible work.
Yeah,
So,
it really
happy
is
with
a
his
beautiful
stuff.
artwork. Now, are the demigods actual demigods from lore, or have you created your own?
We created our own.
Okay.
We didn't want to get too much into stealing from mythologies, especially religions that may still be practiced places.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
just didn't want to get into that danger zone.
Right.
And also creating our own lore allows us to tell a bigger story. And so we've been actually doing a augmented reality game that tells that story. And each week on Friday, a new section that comes out that tells a bigger part of the story of the game. So
Very
that's been really fun.
Well, so for people who are going to back this game and be one of the first to actually play it, what are some strategies you would actually recommend to try to keep your demigod secret? Like, how do you go
Yeah.
about keeping it secret, but still you want it to gain more points to win? So give us some strategies.
So it's kind of funny. My wife hates playing strategy or deduction games with me. Hates it. Like Mafia will not play it with me at family
Okay.
gatherings because I lie so much. And so when she found out we were making a game that had something to do with social deduction, she's like, I never want to play that game.
Oh no.
And so it was actually in the back of my mind while we were playing this game. We want this to be a game that you can play if you're good at lying and you enjoy lying, but also a game that you can play where you don't have to say a word. You can be
okay.
totally silent. You can be the mysterious person that is just not giving away anything. Whereas me, I'm always like telling other people that the second player that's not me is my color. And so they think it's that person. And I'm pointing out things they're doing. So I think just as a very broad top down, there's the vocal player and the non-vocal player as 2 strategies. And then other than that, there's many different strategies you can take. 2 of the main ones are the sprint. I'm just not going to care about hiding, and I'm going to try to win and see if they can stop me.
Okay.
And some players tried that. And you might think they're bluffing. Sometimes we've thought they're bluffing, and it's like they're being so obvious that it's impossible that it's them. And then we don't try to stop them until it's too late. But I will say most of the time that strategy does not pay off. The rest of the table's like, even if it's not him, we can't let that player be 3 points ahead at this point in the game. And that player just gets trashed. And then my favorite strategy is to not reveal who I am until my very last move. And that's very hard. You can't do it every game because sometimes in that third round, it's played over 3 rounds. Sometimes in that third round, if you have any shot of winning, you just have to reveal who you are. It's like, I'm teleporting my color. Sorry, teleporting is a very technical term. You can move your color a big leap to get to a quest that you need to get to as a special power, but it immediately reveals who you are, or it's a huge, costly misdirect. And so sometimes you just kind of have to reveal and go for it.
Right. You have to do that sprint right at the end to try
Right
to
at
win.
the
It's
end.
like, I don't care if you know who I am. I need to win.
Yep. I need to win. Yeah, exactly. And it's sometimes like they can't try and stop you because they're doing the same exact thing.
Right.
So
right.
it can happen.
All right. So when you're playing the quest down on the specific lands, is there any strategy behind which quests get played in which zones?
So not particularly. So well, a little bit. So the very first round, where the quests land is random. It doesn't
Okay.
have anything to do with really anything. It just
Okay.
deal out the quests. After that, you deal quests in turn order at the beginning of each round. And the player can place it wherever they might. Now, some of the quests are color specific. So if, for instance, one quest has a blue circle on it, the blue demigod, Apony, can only fill that quest unless a special power is used, and that costs a lot of cards. So it's likely that blue's going to go on that quest. So if I was blue and I was placing that quest, I might place it right next to Apony so that she gets to fulfill it quickly. Or I might place it really far from Apony so that she fulfills another quest maybe and that quest on this round. So there's a little bit of strategy on where. And then there's age cards that will affect the regions in some cases. And so I might place a quest on the west side of the board because I know that the west side of the board is going to get points at the end of the age, and I want blue Apony to be on the west side of the board at the end. So the quest regions themselves, like the mountains, the forest, don't affect the quest, but
Okay.
they do have modifiers on them.
Okay. Now, just let's talk about the quests for a little bit and what what the purpose are of those quests and how it works. So you place your demigods on the quest,
Yep.
and then you have to play either a feather or a scorpion. So that's
Yeah.
positive or negative on that. So explain
Yeah.
kind of how the quests work and how that comes into the gameplay.
Yeah, so each quest has 3 to 5 slots on it, and each slot will be filled by a demigod before the quest is completed. And when you place a demigod on a quest, there's going to be a left-hand side, a feather side result, or a right-hand side, a scorpion result. And when you're voting with either the left hand, the feathers, or the right hand, the scorpions. And so if I vote for Apony to get feathers, I'm probably wanting that to be a positive because I'm playing as Apony, and the example that I used before.
Right.
So once the quest fills up, then those cards get shuffled and revealed, and the card will either be feathers, because that was the predominant card in the pile, or it will be scorpions. And so you resolve one side of the card.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's usually a big reveal because there's people either both voting left or both voting right or skipping in between the middle. And so it either comes down to being very, very close. And if it's a tie, you have to flip the coin and has feathers on one side, scorpions on the other side. Or sometimes it's all scorpions, and that reveals a ton of information for the other players that weren't on that quest.
Right, because now they know what you've played. Because when you play those cards, it's in secret. You don't know what.
Yeah.
Even though, Austin, based on your video, it's like, I only have feathers. I only have feathers.
Yeah. That's why I'm only putting feathers in. I didn't only have feathers. I totally had other cards. So.
Can you give us give us a little bit of background on the development and the playtesting, and what kind of hurdles did you go through while playtesting this, and what was one of the hardest things to actually get right?
Yeah. Okay. So the board was one of the hardest things, surprisingly.
Interesting. Wow.
So the first board was like tons of little hexes, just tons of them. And the quests would come out. You'd roll dice to see which hex, like kind of like a map, you would go like over to A and then down to 5, and you'd place the quest there. And it ended up being that demigods would just completely get left out of the game if they weren't important. Or you'd have to completely reveal that I'm this color because they're up here in the corner and all the quests are in the bottom corner. So, like, why am I moving that color across the board?
Right.
And we really loved the board because it was very thematic and it looked beautiful and it was just really fun. But it was like, okay, demigods have to be able to get to every region in 2 moves. It has to be easier than this. And there has to be reasons to go back to the city in the middle, which is adjacent to everything. Because otherwise you were just tipping your hand as to who you were way too early. And it just didn't work out well. The second major problem was COVID.
Of course.
Literally, we were going into development right as COVID hit and really hit playtesting hard right as COVID hit. But it ended up being a blessing, and in 2 ways. One, because we had our community from Moonrakers, and we were just like, hey, guys, we need help making this game. Like, we just can't meet to test it. We don't know what we're going to do. And so they really stepped up and really helped us do tons of playtests. The second thing was that everyone was off work for those like 2 or 3 months. And so I was running like 2 or 3 playtests a day, up to like 5 to 10 a week for a while.
Wow.
And so we just got so much testing done in February and March and April. And really, I think it would have been a 6 or 9 month testing run, and it got condensed into 3 months. That was hard to do, but it was great that we were able to take advantage of a really hard situation. So.
And it became the board that it is now.
Yeah, so that was a very hard fought battle internally. None of us really wanted to get away from the big board, and it just kind of became obvious, like, we either scrap the game or we go to a small board. Well, it's not a small board, it's 26 inches. The board is huge, but the regions, there's only really nine locations on the board, and so where they can be is much more condensed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have any fun testing stories as you were going through the the playtesting and stuff like that? Any really fun stories that you can share with us?
Oh, I'm sure I have plenty. Whether I'll remember them is another issue. Actually, one of my favorite playtests we've ever done was the 3-player playtest that I think you guys watched a little bit of today, because Zach was so positive he had won. He was so positive, and it was a beautifully played game. He really should have won, because I was convinced he was yellow, just 100% he was yellow, no doubt in my mind. And he did a move on the second to last turn that put yellow in first place and teal in second place. And he just would have won, and we would have all thought he was yellow, and he revealed it would have been teal. But on the very last move, which was the age card. Age cards finish out every round. There's a vote. The vote really wouldn't have mattered to the color he thought I was. He thought I was black. And so he didn't really pay attention to the age card. And then I was red, and the age card gave me 2 points and put me in the lead above yellow even. So I revealed, and he just was so crestfallen.
No.
I played the whole game thinking that I was being so sneaky. The worst part, though, was that had he actually suspected red, he had an extra move, and it would have just taken him, move him one region into the city, and I wouldn't have gotten 2 points. That was all he needed to do. It was right there. So I feel bad for him because of that. But as far as like funny moments, I mean, so many reveals where I thought I had the game in the bag, and some person that had never played before, and I'm like, they're obviously green. It's so obvious. I can't believe they're so bad at this game. Reveals and they're yellow and they win, and I'm just like, man, gosh, I really should not have underestimated these first-time players. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast playing on TTS, and that's coming from someone that really didn't like playing anything on TTS before COVID. So
yeah, that's fair. Now, really important question: has your wife played it?
So no,
Okay.
I really want her to. And maybe we'll do that as a part of the launch stream. That would be incredible to have her come on and play it.
So far she's been true to her word.
Yeah, she has been true to her word. We have a 2-year-old, and also there really aren't any physical copies except for the one with the painted minis at the office, and I'm terrified to take that home. So it's been a little hard, but it'll happen very soon. Maybe we'll do it on launch day or launch week. That would be fun.
There you go. Set yourself a stretch goal on your campaign that if you hit a certain dollar amount that she has to play for a stream.
I love that idea. I'm 100% doing that. It might just be in the Discord, not as a stretch goal, but yeah, that's amazing. I'm definitely going to tell her she has to play now.
That's awesome.
So do you have any stretch goals that you can tease right now?
So we as a company are in a weird place with stretch goals. So we want the game to be as high quality as it possibly can be in the base game. And we did that with Moonrakers too. And so we didn't want stretch goals to limit the quality, because if we didn't hit a certain amount, or we had a stretch goal that was really cool and we set it really high and it was too high, then it's like, well, do we add it in anyway?
Right.
And so we kind of build our campaigns to be stretch goals built in. However, one thing that the community tends to really like about stretch goals is a lot of times it's new content that they can be a part of developing. And so we have that built into the campaign as well. So the campaign will have 6 age cards, which are those cards that really affect the rules for that age, and 5 city cards, which kind of do the same thing, but in a very different way. When you move a demigod from an outside region back to the city, something happens on this city card, and you get cards, or a different rule happens. Anyway, I won't go into any more detail. The Kickstarter backers are going to submit ideas for that and can actually play them with us on TTS, and we're going to pick our favorite and then let them vote on the final selection.
Nice.
And so that'll be really, really fun to do with the community. It's a very short campaign. We wanted to end it before the election, and so it's only running from the 15th to the 31st of October. So it's basically a little over 2 weeks.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that's what we're
awesome.
on stretch goals.
That's a cool stretch. Yeah, I mean, getting the community involved in the stretch goals, that's always fun. You know, I've had a few Kickstarters that I've backed where it was you got to vote on things. It was always fun to see, is my vote going to be the one? Post Kickstarter, for anybody who misses the campaign, where are they going to be able to get the game once you've fulfilled, and you know, if they're listening to this a year from now, where can they get Veiled Fate?
So first off, check your friendly local game store. Would love to have it be there, and to support them if it is there. But if it's not in your local game store, veiledfate.com is our website, and we'll just have a web store running on there. It will be pre-order right after the Kickstarter campaign, and then it will convert to being just straight delivery after the campaign fulfills.
Awesome. Excellent.
But yeah.
That's fantastic. Austin, the game sounds amazing. It looks gorgeous. Like, the artwork is fantastic, as Tico mentioned earlier.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Before we let you go, what is your favorite part of the game?
I love making people think I'm a different color. It's just my favorite part. It's terrible because it definitely plays into my ego of like, I fooled them. But it's so fun revealing at the end of the game if everyone at the table thinks you're a different color and you're like, haha, I am not that color. Way less fun if you're not in the lead when you do that. But, you know, it's very fun.
That's awesome. Austin, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Good luck on the campaign. I hope it does well because the game sounds amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today's episode. We hope that you'll check out Veiled Fate, but most of all, we really hope that you will like and subscribe to this channel because they were so nice to let us come on the show.